improves our energy levels, improves our brain function, lubricates the joints. I don't know about you, but when I'm dancing, I need my joints to be fluid and move with me, right? Water delivers oxygen throughout the body. It boosts our skin health, so we have healthy, vibrant looking skin, right? And it supports a healthy digestive system, and it also helps to flush waste and toxins from our bodies. How much water? How much water should we drink? So each day we lose body fluids through breathing, sweating, urine and bowel movements, and we have to put that fluid back into the body. And we do that by drinking beverages and eating foods that contain water. Many of us have been told to drink 8 glasses of water a day in order to meet our fluid needs and help our body stay balanced. However, each person's water needs is different, and that depends on your age, your weight, your height, how much we sweat, how much physical activity you actually participate in. So another way to make sure that you're getting enough water is to drink water about 20 to 30 minutes after each and every meal. Make sure you have water. The reason you want to wait 20 to 30 minutes is you want to make sure that your digestive enzymes do not flush away the nutrients before your body has a chance to use them. So you want to be careful. Sometimes you see we have a glass of something to drink right at the table with the meal. We'll push that glass aside, wait 20 to 30 minutes, and then your body will better be able to digest the food because you'll still have the enzymes. So that's a good way to make sure you have water before, during, and after your exercise. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. And certainly if you feel thirsty, you should go ahead and have some water. So is drinking water the only way to meet our fluid needs? Absolutely not. One of the wonderful things about fruit and vegetables is there are certain fruits and vegetables that have such a high content of water that when you're drinking them, they have the effect of helping to restore fluids. So some of those you can see here we have are watermelon, which in the name watermelon gives you a hint, right? There's broccoli at 91% water by weight, and cucumbers at 96%. And celery is also very high. So you can see here that by drinking these high water content fruits and vegetables, they can certainly help to replenish the fluids that we lose during physical activity. Also, you can drink beverages such as milk, whether it be alternative milk sources, juice, and certainly we want to make sure that those juices are 100% pure juice and not a juice drink or sugar, high sugar content juices. Also herbal teas. These are all composed of mostly water and will certainly help you when restoring your fluids. So how do you know if you are eating a well-balanced meal? Well, one of the things that the US Department of Agriculture did to make sure that we can easily find out is they've developed something called My Plate. If you go to myplate.gov, myplate.gov, you will find amazing information there from the USDA, and they provide information to help us know how much fruit, how much vegetables, how much grains, protein, and dairy should be included in a meal for it to be a balanced plate of food. So let's look at that. So this is from myplate.gov, and here is a plate of food, and let's examine it just a little bit. So you'll see our largest slices of pie here are the vegetables and grains. So if you want to make sure, you're going to make sure you get a large percent of your food intake as vegetables and grains. These vegetables are great sources of fiber. These grains are great sources of carbohydrates, which we talked about that, for your energy and your fuel. And then you have fruit here. Fresh fruit is full of nutrient value. It also has sugar, which will also give you energy, but it's natural sugar, which can easily be broken down and used by the body without causing the damage of added sugars to food. And then you have here in a bit smaller slice here, your proteins. So you do need protein to build muscle and to maintain strong bones, but you don't want to overconsume protein so that your protein is more than your carbohydrate, your vegetables, and that kind of food intake. And then here we'll look at dairy, so that's your milk, your cheeses, your eggs, yogurts. So these also provide a rich source of fat, protein, and iron in certain cases, and a variety of nutrients.
It was at 10 o'clock?
Okay, so let's talk about some tips. Here are some really helpful tips that I found to help make sure that for my children and myself that we were making good food choices. Perimeter shopping. Not sure if you've ever heard of perimeter shopping, but this is something great that you can share with your parents and you can help them to help make sure that you are making good food choices. So what is perimeter shopping? So this is where you do most of your shopping from the outer perimeter of the store and minimal shopping from the innermost section of the store. So since most grocery stores keep their fresh produce, protein, and dairy sections around the outer perimeter of the store, if you shop from these areas as your prominent source of grocery shopping, this will help to lower the amount of junk food, unhealthy fats, preservatives that you buy, and it will also increase the amount of fresh fruit, vegetables, proteins, healthy carbohydrates, and healthy fats that you buy. And that's an easy way for you to help make sure that you are taking in nice, healthy, nutritious foods. So I have a quick video that we're going to watch about perimeter shopping. It's 2 minutes. My apologies. Somehow it loaded up the video different than what it actually. Here we go.
For years. If foods do not have a lot of preservatives, then they need to be refrigerated. Keeping food at a cool temperature helps to reduce bacteria growth and keep them fresh. For people concerned about chemicals and preservatives in their diet, the perimeter is often a great place to shop. Many produce, meat, and dairy items have fewer preservatives than foods on the shelf, but that doesn't mean they're always free of chemicals and antibiotics. And while often located along the perimeter, don't be fooled by the deli section. Ready-to-go items like deep-fried foods and cold pasta salads can quickly add lots of calories and fat to your diet. While not on the perimeter, don't skip the frozen section. There's healthy food here too, like fruit or vegetables. They're picked fresh and frozen quickly so you can safely store them for months while maintaining nutrients. And while convenience counts, be aware, many frozen meals and treats have extra fat and calories. Break out of your aisle comfort zone. The next time you hit the grocery store, I challenge you to spend some extra time exploring the perimeter and live life on the fringes. You might be surprised what you'll find. When you go grocery shopping, have you ever wondered if you really
Fantastic. Hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. It was very informative. That is something that I actually use when I'm grocery shopping. And at the end of my grocery shopping, I ask myself, I look at my cart and examine what I have in my cart versus what was bought in the perimeter and what is bought from the most inner aisles. There are certain things like your nuts and seeds and your beans and your rice and grains that you are going to have to go to the innermost aisles to get, but you're going to want to make sure that you balance that so that your perimeter shopping is the majority of your shopping. Food labels and ingredients. This is really important tool to help us out. So let's make sure that we take the time to read the label and ingredients in food before we make a decision to eat it. This helps ensure that we avoid foods where we see things that are refined, bleached, hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated. We also want to make sure that as we're reading these ingredients, we're avoiding foods that have high sugar content. So when you're reading ingredients, the first ingredient is usually the major ingredient in the product that you're reading. So if that first or second ingredient is sugar, that tells you that it's a high sugar content food. If one of your last ingredients is the sugar, that gives you a clue that it is likely to be a lower sugar content food. Also, when you read the label, you will see the grams of sugar, which we'll look at in just a moment. You also want to avoid, as well as sugar, food colors, preservatives, which I'll tell you in a second what that is. And as all of these things take a toll on your body and weaken the digestive system and weaken your body's ability to be able to stay strong and healthy. And so a preservative, as I talked about, is something added to food that allows it to stay on the shelf in the store longer. So we get our greatest nutrition content from food that is fresh. So if you're seeing lots of preservatives in your food, it also tells you that it's not fresh food and nutritional content of that food is not likely very high. So that is something that you want to avoid. Some unhealthy ingredients that we're avoiding, the reason we're avoiding these unhealthy ingredients is because in certain instances, they create what is known as an acid environment. Acid environments weaken our bones, they cause damage, they weaken our body's ability to support us fully. And so we want to make sure that we avoid these things so that our bodies stay more alkaline and that they support us to continue to be vibrant and healthy. So let's look at a food label and maybe break down just a little bit what it is so that you have an idea of what you're looking at. So the top portion of this label, underneath where it says nutrition facts, in area 1, in section 1. This area, when you're reading your label, it's going to tell you in the container or the package that you're purchasing, how many servings there are in that entire container. So here we see this container has 4 servings and a serving size is 1.5 cups. So you all are probably better at math than me, but I know that if 1.5 cups is 1 serving and this container has 4 cups, that means if I consume the entire container, I've consumed 6 cups because that's 1.5, 4 times, right? So you want to be mindful. Is that more than what I need to be eating? We look at the next section, section 2, calories. This is showing us 240 calories for 1 serving. Again, we know from section 1, this entire packet has 4 servings. So if we eat the entire package, that's 240, my mathematicians out there, help me with this math, that's 240 times 4. So if you know what that is, you can either raise your hand or call it out, unmute yourself and call it out into the chat and tell us. That seems like that's going to be a lot of calories for 1 snack. So yes, that is right. That's 960 calories if we eat that entire package. And so we want to make sure that we're monitoring our caloric intake and how it relates to our total daily intake. Section 3 helps us to know our percentage of daily values. So daily values are set to help us to know how much sugar, how much fat, how much sodium, how much protein, and other nutrients are in the foods that we eat. So for instance, in this package, a serving has 11 grams of protein. So that actually is a very decent source of protein if you can get 11 grams in one meal, in one serving. It also, if you look here, we can see the total fat. It'll show us the cholesterol, sodium. Here's 430 milligrams of sodium. So you can find that out just by reading the back. So if I eat one serving and I've already consumed 430 milligrams, then I know by looking at section 1 that if I multiply that by the number of servings, which is 4, I've eaten 4 times this amount of sodium. So if 430 is 19, almost 20%, and I eat that entire package, it means I'm multiplying 20% by 4. I've already eaten 80% of my sodium for the day. So we really want to be very leery of high sodium products, be very knowledgeable about the ingredients and the labels on the food that you're eating so that you make good food choices. So with that in mind, I want us to do a little activity. So I have some food here, and I'm going to show you the food, and then I want you to tell me. Let me see if I can see any of you here. So I'm going to show you food. I'm going to show you a label. And then if you have any packaged food, you can grab a label. And then if someone was to raise their hand, you can show me if you know how to read that label based on what we just showed. So I'm going to do the first one. So here's a package, and here's the label that we just talked about. And so based on this packaging, I can see that there are 4 servings in this entire bag, and that one serving is equal to 1 ounce or 28 grams. The amount of calories is 130. So if I were to eat this entire package, I already know that's 130 times 4. Again, you mathematicians out there, that's some math that you probably have already figured out, and I would have to probably use a calculator. You also see here, just as we said, we can see the carbohydrates, we can see the sodium, and we can see those daily values. So is there anyone who has a package? You want to raise your hand and you can show me your pack. You can tell me what's on your package. I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. Tell me what's on your package, and then tell me the calories. Tell me the servings, or tell me anything it is that you want to see, anything it is that you see that you think you notice based on that. And if you don't have anything, maybe you're not home. When you get home, pick up a package that you have in your home, turn it over and examine it so that the next time you're eating it, you know exactly what it is you're consuming and what portion it is, how much sodium, how much sugar, how many calories you're consuming. And even if it's wonderful, like how many grams of protein, or it might show you how much calcium or how much iron, any of those things, such as the nutrient content, is also going to be shown here in your nutrition label on the packaging. So if you don't have one now, when you get home, take the opportunity to do that for yourself. Okay, great. Okay, now we're going to do another activity here. If you're with me, we have some food on the table here, and you can raise your hand at any time. And if I see you raise your hand, I'll know you have a question or you have input, or you can also unmute if you want to call out an answer. Okay, so let's start. So if you can help me, we're going to look at these vegetables and fruits and the different food that's on the table. And you can tell me based on what we talked about, based on perimeter shopping, based on what we know about fruits and vegetables, whether or not this is going to be something that we're going to put on our healthy list or our unhealthy list. Are you not hearing the sound? Yes, Tia, absolutely 100%. Tia says that the serving sizes are way smaller than she usually thinks they are. And I think that applies to all of us, Tia. I often think, wait, did I really just eat 4 servings? So yes, 100% agree. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so based on what we learned today, this is a plate of watermelon, which we know is about 92 to 95% water. And this is also a melon called a Tuscan melon, which is very similar to a honeydew. So based on what we learned today, would this be something that goes on our healthy list or our unhealthy list? You can raise your name, you can unmute, you can call it out, or you can write it in the chat. If you write it in the chat, I'll also be able to see it. Absolutely. Thank you. That's 100% correct. That's going to go on our healthy list. That's beautiful. What about this? Give me this one. Give me that. Yeah. Okay. So this is packaged, right? These are cookies. And when we look on the back here, I want you all to look at the sugar content. Look at the sodium content. Here you see, again, we talked about the number of servings. How many servings are in the package? And then here are the ingredients. I want you to look at some of these ingredients. Remember what we said about ingredients. You see all those preservatives and sugar and artificial colors and corn syrup and artificial flavors. So now you tell me, would this be something that you put on your healthy side or your unhealthy side? 100%, I agree with you. So we have some healthier options that we can use. You could do an air pop popcorn, which is a great snack. You could do something like unsweetened applesauce. This is organic unsweetened applesauce. When my kids were school age, I would often put a cup of unsweetened organic applesauce in the lunch bag to make sure they had a healthy, delicious snack. It's still very delicious, even without adding any sugar. What about this? Look at this. These are slices of cucumber. So let me tell you something we do with these slices of cucumber. We either take almond butter or peanut butter or hummus and we spread it, or we slice it and eat it as is. Cucumber is one of those foods that's high water content. So where would we put this? On healthy or not healthy? This is a great additive to salad too. And it's sweet, believe it or not, cucumber is very sweet. So 100%, this is a healthy snack. This is gonna go on our healthy side. What about yogurt? So there's a trick about yogurt. Normally, you're gonna say that yogurt is a healthy snack. However, based on what we learned today, I want you to consider when you're shopping, that when you go to purchase your yogurt, read your nutrition facts. Read that label. If that yogurt has 20, 25, 30% sugar content, that would be a yogurt that I would tell you to avoid. Put that yogurt down and look for something closer to maybe a 10%. Maybe get your plain yogurt instead and add to your plain yogurt. You can add nuts and seeds. You can add beautiful ripe raspberries or blueberries or blackberries to that yogurt, and you will make it a delicious snack without any kind of artificial sugars or artificial additives to that plain yogurt. So yogurt can be a great healthy snack if you make the right yogurt choice, okay? What about this drink here? Okay, this one is a tricky one. This is a strawberry banana smoothie. That's what it says. It's just a strawberry banana smoothie. We know strawberries are healthy, right? Strawberries are delicious and healthy. So this is strawberries and it's bananas. But now, how do we know if this is or is not a healthy snack? That's right. We're going to turn it over and we're going to read the ingredients. So here, let's look at this. So this serving size is 1 per container. So you'll see there that if you drink this entire thing, that's one serving. However, I want us to scroll down and look at the sugar. And what it says there is that the total sugar is 44 grams. So while we're looking at it, and it's, yes, that's a tremendous amount of sugar. I agree with you. So we're looking at this, and the name of it or the marketing of it may make us think that it's a healthy drink. But now that we know that we can have more control by reading our ingredients, we read this and we can see that 44 grams of sugar is probably something that we don't want to choose. Or if you're going to choose it, maybe cut it in quarters, maybe take a few sips. This is almost 16 ounces. So maybe drink 4 ounces of it instead of all 16, even though it says it's a 1 serving container, the sugar content is way too high for it to be considered a healthy option. Okay, so that was a trick question. And then we'll do one more. Let's look at this. Okay, so we talked about carbohydrates, we talked about grains and the importance of grains. So this is quinoa. This is quinoa. So this, you would cook it like rice, and it's delicious just like rice. It cooks in 20 minutes, or actually 18 to 20 minutes. And it's actually, even though it's a grain, it's a great source of protein, very highly usable protein. So what do you think? Would we put this quinoa on our healthy side? Or yes, absolutely, JD, thank you. Or our unhealthy side? 100%. Quinoa is very healthy. There are some who say that while quinoa has been classified as a grain, that in actuality, quinoa is actually a seed, which explains why it's such high protein content. Now, I don't know the research behind that, so I don't want to stand behind it, but that is something that I have heard. So, oh, you know, I want to do one more. Give me that. I'll take it right here. What about this? So many of us, instead of drinking water, we go to this brown sweet drink. Is this what we would consider to be healthy? Or would we rather pick up water, fruit juice, or a natural real fruit smoothie? 100%. 100%, very, very bad and unhealthy for you in so many ways. It's detrimental to the cells, it's detrimental to your digestion, it's detrimental to your immune system. So these kinds of drinks, we're gonna pass, right? Because we can always drink water that we can infuse with cucumber, we can infuse it with watermelon if we want some additives. So we can make iced tea, that we can find a natural sweet sugar replacements, such as maybe monk fruit would be a great replacement. You could use something that's much less detrimental than added sugar. So 100%. So seltzer water is a really good question, JD. Thank you for that. So we want to be careful about carbonated drinks, because carbonated drinks have a tendency to reduce the way that our bodies can utilize and absorb magnesium, as well as other nutrients like vitamin D. So while you can get seltzer water that's not necessarily sweetened, that would be something that I would say occasional, because you don't want that to be your everyday drink where you're minimizing and reducing your body's ability to intake and utilize micronutrients that you need. So excellent question. Thank you for that. And last but not least, let's see, let's look at, oh, okay. So the other day, I didn't have time to eat at home and I needed food. And my daughter said, Mom, I have something for you. And she brought this to me. So sometimes we make the mistake of thinking either we can only eat a healthy meal at home, or that every meal that says it's healthy is actually healthy, and that's not the case. So we didn't know, yes, that is true, Tia. And so about the seltzer water and minimizing and reducing your body's ability to absorb and utilize certain nutrients. So that is something that you want to take into consideration. So here's a meal And I want you to tell me. I'm not going to tell you whether I would or would not eat it if I were out. I want you to tell me whether I could or could not if I'm looking to make a healthy choice. So this is what she brought me. She got this at a store, very popular store. We'd like to get our nice fancy coffee drinks. And so in here is a container with guacamole. So there's avocado and some vegetables. There is sugar snap peas, baby carrots. There's also here some nuts and seeds. And these are falafels. So falafels are made from primarily chickpeas, or some people call them garbanzo beans. And you cook them down and you add maybe a little whole grain flour and some seasoning, and that's how you make a falafel. So would you say that if I were looking for a healthy alternative and I was out of the house, would I be able to select this meal or not? Somebody let me know. JD, Tia, what do you think? What do you think about this falafel with avocado or guacamole? It looks really healthy to you. Well, guess what? It's one of the better alternatives that I found as far as street food that I can grab. So yes, while I wouldn't necessarily eat it every day, and that's only because the falafels are fried, and I don't know if that's, well, yes, absolutely, 100%, yes it is. While I wouldn't eat fried all the time, and because I don't know if this coating is actually baked or fried, I don't want to have too much deep fried. I wouldn't consume it every day, but if I'm in a pinch and I'm on the road, I 100% would go and grab this meal. And it has a nice source of protein. It has fat because of the avocado, and it also has a variety of vegetables. So someone really thought about this and made a good decision here. So with that being said, in summary, let's kind of go over a few things. Does anybody have any questions before I kind of just go over, just kind of summarize what we talked about today? Yes, I will try my best, Tia. Yes, you can drink water before. So Tia's referring to when I said when you're drinking water, you want to make sure that you're drinking water 20 to 30, optimal 30, but some of us, we just can't wait. You might be really thirsty, dry mouth, whatever it is, you want to wash it down. So 20 to 30, I'm going to say after. Her question is, can we also drink water before? So the answer is yes, but the same principle applies. So you don't want to wash out all of your digestive enzymes right before you're about to eat a meal, because you want to make sure they're plentiful for your body to break down the nutritional values, get rid of the waste, and do what it needs to do. So I would say if you want to drink, once you take that drink, unless it's just a sip, if it's just a sip, you're okay. But once you drink water or any beverage, then you should wait, I would say, a nice 30 minutes before you consume your meal to make sure your body has time to restore those digestive enzymes before you eat. Excellent question. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Yeah, so supplements like enzymes and probiotics. So, there are some people who would tell you they don't believe in supplements. So as far as my take on supplements, we live lives today that we're not sedentary. We're on the move. We're doing 10 to 15 things. So there was a time when we had the opportunity to stay home and focus on our meals and on our well-being as the majority of what we did during the day. We don't necessarily have that leisure right now to be able to do that. Many of us are running from very early. I usually start my day at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm usually going until 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And so while I'm on the go, my body needs support. So yes, I would say that you want to get yourself a good probiotic. One of the things that you're looking for is multiple strains. So when you get a probiotic, look for one that has multiple strains. You want to have at least maybe 8 or 9 different strains in the probiotic. If you have some more, that's wonderful. So those are really very beneficial. And you can, so I also, when I'm looking at probiotics for myself, I utilize probiotics that are refrigerated, because the probiotics that are not refrigerated, I am not sure of the mechanics of what makes those shelf stable, that those can stay on a shelf for periods of a year at a time. So refrigerated. Nootropics, are they safe? I have not done enough research on nootropics, but I have heard about it to say whether it is or is not safe. But I will look into it, and hopefully the next time I can have more information on nootropics, but I don't have enough research to say whether they are or are not safe at this time. Thank you. Wonderful questions. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody's participation. So I kind of want to just summarize. Hey, Chloe, so you want to talk about preparing body proportions with diets. So let me know if I'm kind of off target here. So you might have somebody who decides that they want to do a low carb diet. Maybe that's what you're talking about. And maybe your body proportion is something that you're already very thin. Maybe you get a lot of physical activity and you're already moving a lot and you're burning a lot of calories. So for you to do a low carb diet, and in particular, if you're a dancer and you're requiring a lot of carbs for energy, I would not recommend a keto diet, ketogenic diet, or a low carb diet, Atkins, or any of those diets that are promoting you to reduce caloric intake by reducing your carbs, because you could actually make yourself imbalanced. You won't have the energy to do what you need to do. While vegetables do provide a great source of energy, and the carbs in vegetables are wonderful and amazing, you might need some of those starchy carbs, because sometimes in keto, you don't even have starchy vegetables. So you wouldn't have a yam, you wouldn't have green peas, you wouldn't have carrots or anything that's going to be considered a starchy vegetable. So if you're a person who has that body type, I 100% would say, I would not recommend the ketogenic diet for you, or any of the Atkins, or any of the low carb diets. Thank you for your question, Chloe. That was a great question. I appreciate that. Yes. So that is something that is really real for all of us. So one of the things is, if you have the opportunity, start young. You start young with your children. You spend time in the perimeter aisles, and let your children see your excitement about those foods. And they will get to know that this is something that puts a smile on your face. It will often, but not all the time, it will often then translate to them as something that they're interested in. When you cook and choose foods, make them vibrant in color. If you see my tablescape here, it's vibrant in color. And whenever I prepare a meal, it's full of the reds and the greens and the oranges and the yellows. It's not just brown food. It's vibrant. And when it looks good, it already begins to appeal to our senses. That's something else I would do. If you have a picky eater, I would never force a picky eater to have food that they're not expressing an interest in at that time. My daughter did not like anything green when she was young, and coming in my house, I was like, how could that be? Everything that I put on a plate is green. And she just was not interested in kale, spinach, collards, salad, any dark green leafy. So what I did with my daughter was, I would make the meal and I would sit it in front of her. And while we ate, if she ate it, great. If she didn't eat it, I would say to her, do you want your things today? And if she would not eat it, I would say, well, maybe you want it tomorrow. I'll put it aside and you let me know if you want it tomorrow. And I would continuously do that. After a few weeks, my daughter saw that it was a regular part of the meal. She saw everyone else at the table eating it. And she also saw that she had the power to say no. And by empowering her, it made her feel less like she needed to protect and guard that power. And she eventually opened up. And now my daughter, I'll say, what do you want? Just a bowl of kale, please. She'll make it herself. She'll eat it herself. So don't force it on your children. Share it with them regularly, whether they choose to eat it. Do not force it. Do not show any negative emotion around that. Do not judge them for it. Give them time. So maybe she didn't like the kale, but maybe she liked spinach. Maybe she didn't like the spinach when you sauteed it because it could be a texture thing. Maybe it was too soft. Maybe if you take baby spinach and you put some of that baby spinach in a nice tossed salad, maybe she likes the crunchiness. Maybe you can try different textures with the children, with the different foods and see. So don't be afraid to experiment because not every food will be liked by everyone. But maybe while she doesn't like kale, maybe she'll like salad. Maybe she liked, like my kids, I like to eat the leaves, the spring mix with lots of red and different color leaves. They prefer romaine hearts because it's more crunchy to them. It's a lighter, pale looking green. So I don't force the spring mix. I give them romaine and they eat lots of salad. So hopefully those things are something that will help you with that, help parents with struggling with healthy food options. Remember this also, when you go to the grocery store, there are things that you can do that you can still make it fun to throw it in the lunch bag. As I said, I choose low sugar option yogurts. So they're having a yogurt, they love it, they enjoy yogurt. I choose sugar-free or unsweetened rather, unsweetened sugar, unsweetened applesauce, organic, that I can throw in the lunch bag. So I'm thinking about the kids with these types of snacks. I choose, sometimes I get small bags of baby carrots, and my kids love hummus, and I'll use a small organic container of hummus. The thing you want to be mindful about is because this hummus is pre-prepared and you didn't cook this in your home, you always have to look at your sodium content and make sure that you are not giving your child more sodium than they should be having. So just look at that. But I could do hummus, and if they like carrots, great. If they like cucumbers, great. And I always keep a variety of fruit in the house so that each person has the opportunity to get nutritional content from the fruit, whether they like watermelon or they prefer oranges. So variety is actually helpful in helping that child to establish what feels right texturally and what tastes good to their buds based on what their body balance is at that time. Because your chemical balance within your body does actually influence your cravings and the things that you enjoy. So think about those things. Hopefully that helped. Okay, so if there are no more questions, just in summary, and if you put anything there in the chat, I will pay attention to it. So in summary, as dancers, it's especially important for us to think about how food and nutrition affects our bone health as well as our overall health and how we maintain vibrant energy, right? So good nutrition needs to be practiced daily. You don't want to wait until a week before your recital to decide that now you want to start eating healthy so that you have energy. This is something you should practice on a daily basis. There was a doctor named Dr. Anne Marie Colvin. She spent her life researching food and nutrition and how it impacts the bones. As dancers, we want to make sure we have strong, healthy bones. So make sure that you include vibrant, healthy fruits, vegetables, whole grains, whole food sources, meats without hormone, meats without antibodies. So when you shop and you shop in the grocery store and you go to those proteins, you actually want to look for, if you can, organic or something that the label tells you that hormone antibiotics have not been added to that meat, because those are meats that you want to avoid for sure. And you certainly do want to be mindful about the amount of red meat intake that you consume. Meal prep food is fantastic because you can get a fresh meal that for someone like myself, you might not have to take the time to prepare, but it'll be fresh. You can choose which type and variety of vegetables and fruit you want, and you get a nice amount when they're fresh. when they are in the freezer, even though there are many proponents who say that they freeze it quickly so that it maintains nutritional value, I am not from that school of thought, and I prefer my vegetables fresh. Only if I cannot find that vegetable fresh would I buy it as a frozen vegetable. But as a rule, for me, my vegetables are bought from the produce aisle and not from the frozen food aisle. All right, and then one of the last things I wanted to talk about was that remember that eating excessive amounts of processed food, and this is what your question is talking about, and excessive amounts of meats exposes our bodies to harm, to introducing ingredients that reduces our body's ability to function at its highest level. And we want to function at our highest level, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So we want to surround ourselves with people, activities, and foods that help to bring us to that. So remember to grocery shop in the perimeter of your store to help support that. And thank you. I hope that some of the things that we talked about today that you can use in your life as dancers and in your life in general to live long, healthy, vibrant lives. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.